So, anyways, Mr. Ghost Sponge here. We're talking about just chatting, and we are doing two topics today, but we have an introduction, which is more about just kind of like being reserved and stuff. So, we're going to talk about that, and then on the first topic, and then after the introduction, we're going to do a little bit of math, which kind of talks more about being reserved, so it's kind of a long introduction. And then we're going to get into our first topic. Our first topic today is about empathy and the power to dictate the future. Not to mention the second topic, which is basically just like it's like basically like a letter to corrupted people who think that they're going to heaven. So those are our two topics today. So anyway, I just want to start out by saying, there's nothing wrong with being reserved. I was reserved for most of my life, my mid 20s, and that's because I was already in the system. I was in the system for quite a few years, and I mean, gosh, I can't even imagine. I mean, I was homeless for like 12 years, and 3 of those years when I was in a house, I had to go to court all the time, and in high school I wasn't reserved at all, not even a little bit reserved. But I was just saying there's nothing wrong with being reserved, and there's also nothing wrong with being open. So I'm just saying if you are conservative, try to understand that when you accessorize substance alone, it is intactful as a component that is used to increase your essence. And what I mean by that is, don't be surprised when God throws a math problem your way and you don't know the answer. So we're going to talk a little bit about math. So we're talking about point A to point B. You're going to find some form of error, even if you're the most entitled person in the world. You can't get from point A to point B is what I'm trying. There is no perfect math for life. You can't get from point A to point B. And basically what I'm saying is that everybody wants a lavish lifestyle. And so this creates more points in your journey from point A to point B. Now I guess there is kind of a transition here. Let's talk about these little points from point. There's a lot of different points from point A to point B, but I'm speaking out to people who may think that they are empathic. I know that when I was around that mid-20 age, I was already an empathic person, and I knew for a fact that I was going to become a failure. And I used that to my advantage. Now, I did not know exactly how I was going to fail, but I knew that if I set up myself so that way, if I could use my empathic power to try to navigate the road ahead, people like us certainly have an advantage, especially if you're in a relationship. Wow, if you think that thing's going south, then you should have no fucking problem trying to dictate the future, because in that regard, you know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what you can do to try to create an outcome. So for me, it was about just little things that had really big impacts. I knew, for me, it was very personal, because I felt like I wanted to live a lifestyle, but the place where I was at that point in time, it was not good enough. The conditions were so poor that I literally I wanted to set up the system so that way I could default and make it work in my favor. I do not want to go into details, but the first thing I will tell you, the first thing I did was give the government control of my money. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal, but I heard all these horror stories. I heard all these horror stories about people who let the government take control of their money. And for me, it was kind of okay because I wasn't in a position where I had to do it. So at any point in time, I could have, pulled out of the deal. It wasn't like once you do it, it was permanent. I pulled out of the deal eventually. I'm in control of my own money now. But basically, I gave them control because I was living off so little, and the system was so imperfected. It was so imperfect that I was kind of just doing it as a form of expression. I was saying, okay, you take care of my money because you people are a fucking joke. And that was the first thing I did to kind of dictate the future. And along the way, I did some other things, and I became homeless again, just like I thought. I knew I wasn't going to be happy. I knew I was not going to be happy in the future. So I kind of just set it up so that way one day I would find a better place. And now I've lived in this place for seven years, and I'm really super happy. I'm so happy I made those decisions, and it all goes back to dictating the future. That is what empathic person can use as a tool to design the end of time, or from one time to another, from point A to point B, or however many points between. Failure is something you can predict. Even if you don't know how it will end, you can make it a point to force it to happen. And when the time comes, you will be the one in control of what happens. See, I didn't know how it was going to end. I just know I was going to be the one to make it happen. That's kind of my point. If you think that you're going to be a failure, you can design it to where you're the one making the decision yourself, and you will be in complete control of what happens. And if that's what God wants, you're going to be totally with it, just like I was. I knew that's what God wanted. I set myself up for failure, and that is what happened. I was in control of what happened. I've done so many. I can't count the number of times I've set myself up for failure, because I'm a really hard learner. Like, if you become like this, you'll be surprised how hard it is for you to learn something, because I literally have to learn the hard way. And I always set myself up to do these things, but it's been 7 years, and I've learned so many things, and I'm finally at a point where I am capable of taking care of myself now. So it is far better to become mental to failure so you can recreate the circumstances. That's how it ends. I'm just kind of ending it. You want to recreate the circumstances, be in control. You want to be mental to failure. Don't just fucking ignore it, or you're going to be all dramatic, and you'll be like a little drama llama queen, and you'll be thinking, woe is me. You need to be in charge of your life. So, you can be a messenger to the enemy. I wanted to think about this because I was thinking, what would it be like if I was empathetic in a relationship? I'm just thinking, man, you could be like a messenger to the enemy, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And Revelations, you could have all these revelations, and you could predicate failure on your own ability to change the future or see it through, which means, maybe if you can use empathy to make sure things don't happen too. And I'm just saying, be kind of cool if that's not what you wanted. Become the devil's advocate. So anyways, we're changing topics here. I'm talking about people's corrupted views of heaven. It's not too fancy. It's basically just a letter. But it says, time is historically the best word to describe a heaven where something based on our mortal lives here were lived out in vain. If there is a heaven which by definition describes a plane of existence outside of this one, which makes no sense. A lot of people describe it as a peaceful place, a piece of tranquility, which is motivated by the corrupted. It's motivated by that. Those expressions are motivated by, I know, because I've been in so many people's heads. It's motivated by their immoral circumstances. That is what they want. It's what they want. They want to go to this peaceful place. It isn't what they believe in. It isn't, and isn't it a contradiction for them if they say that they are willing to accept whatever? If they start saying things like, I'm willing to accept whatever happens, that is such a contradiction because it comes from where that comes from is their innate ability to fix themselves and pretend like everyone else around them is just as fucked up as they are. That's what they mean by whatever happens. It's like saying they want us to go to hell. They want everybody to live in a hell with them. I do not necessarily believe that these people can be salvaged, but what I do understand is that someone loved these people. I mean, I've been with everybody is going to have somebody in their life that they love, but they loathe at the same time. Somebody loved these corrupted people, and I place a lot of stock in the past because I believe time is the most historical word to use for a place like heaven. And, you know, because if we did actually love these people and we cared about them, then it should become evident in the past. It'll become evident in the past. I mean, we'll kind of like have these past reflections or something about how much we loved them and how hard we tried to believe in them too. So that's how I'm going to end this. See you guys next time. See you around town. Bye.